Welcome back to Wigs and Weaves and the Natural You. I'm your host, Hot Wax, and we're talking about domestic violence and mental health. And we've got some more people coming up that know a lot about the issue of taking care of victims that have been impacted by domestic violence. Welcome to the show, Heather and Melissa Stevning. How you doing, Heather? How you doing, Melissa? Yeah, you can grab the mic. It's okay. Let you go there. So how you doing today?
Fine, thank you. Glad to be here.
Good to be here. We're glad to have you here. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. We'll get a chance to talk a little bit. And we want you are the executive director of a women's shelter, or is it a domestic violence shelter? Tell me what the appropriate name is.
Okay, Option House Incorporated, been here since 1977 in San Bernardino area.
Okay.
Started off as primarily a shelter for victims of domestic violence, and it started off with just women and children.
Okay.
But as you know, over the years, things have changed, and now we're looking at a non-gender bias. So we're bringing in anybody that is a victim of domestic violence with their children into our shelter at this time.
And it wasn't really always that way, was it, Heather?
No.
Okay. What changed?
Well, over the years, we've realized that as men start being empowered to share not only the fact that they're victims, but we also have been looking at our children and how can we make an impact on our children's lives, and how can daddies and fathers be the ones that make that happen. And we're including the male in the story. Whereas before, they were only on the outside, or they were only the perpetrator. Now that we're seeing that not only are they the victims in many cases, but we really need your help to help those kids.
You know, I always said, if you want to understand something that's going on, understand the man behind it.
Yep.
Because sometimes you get into a situation where even the batterer has got his own mental health issues.
Right.
And if he's not understood, that cycle just continues to go. And, you're talking about the young people. Melissa's a young lady. She's got something that she knows about from that vantage point. Because when we talk about young people being impacted, share a little bit with us, Melissa.
So I'm 16. I've seen a lot of children and people in general suffer from domestic violence with what my mom works with. I'm a youth advocate at Option House, so if someone comes in off the streets with little children, I'm often the one who gets to see how these children have been affected by what they've gone through. As a high school student, there's so many things, and Moxie Man, I know you've been dubbed the stat dropper, but I think I have a couple different stats for you now.
Uh-oh.
Before you start your stat.
Whoa, we're going to have a stat battle.
All right.
Okay, being that you're in high school, I wanted to
Okay.
drop this stat, just, see if you know anything
Right.
about it. And once I do, inform me of the information that
Okay.
you have.
Got it.
Okay, so it says in a nationwide survey, 9.4 of high school students report being hit, slapped, or physically hurt on purpose or by their boyfriend or girlfriend in the 12 months prior.
So,
How do you feel about that, and what kind of stats do you have for us?
so I think I'm going to correct you there a little bit.
Okay.
1.5 million high school students who are of age, 18 and younger, whether it be 18 to 16, 18 to 14, however you view high school student age, I guess, have reported being abused by either older partners, whether it be peers, parents' peers, people they meet on the street, teachers. They're abused no matter what. It's not 9.4%, but it's 1.5 million high school students in our nation alone.
That's the number.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you got the stat dropper battle going on over here.
I
so
do.
we're going to get a chance. She holding steady with it.
My little stat dropper next.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Man, she's coming with it. But Heather, talk a little bit about what happened. We're talking about mental health.
Okay.
What happens in the mind of a victim when they come to you? What's going on with them?
We bring people into our circle. They come by either referrals or they call our hotline, and they're in crisis. They don't know what to do. They don't know that they're in a situation that they can get out of. They don't think anybody is there to help them. And so that feeling of loss of all hope is something that a victim feels. And they're broken, and they need someone that is going to help them, empower them, listen to them. And with what we do with our support groups and our counseling and therapists and all of the different programs that we have, we really are able to create a relationship with that victim, to gain their trust so that they can help themselves.
Right.
And move on. Now, one of the biggest passions that we've had since we've been open since 1977, we've been dealing with a lot of victims, but we're putting a Band-Aid on a situation.
Wow.
And what we need to do is identify the root of the problem. And you're talking about the children. She's talking about the youth.
That's right.
That's where we meet. That's where we need to go. We need to find out how to stop it and not continue to just put a Band-Aid on something that we can prevent.
You know, I tell you what, and I appreciate that because it is a Band-Aid, and one of the things that Dr. Williams has shared with us on the show in terms of when that batterer is liked by the mother. So that disguise, that mask. But do you think that a lot of it has to do with the emotions of a person being pulled in by another person that they don't see that side of them?
Of course, you've got the manipulation. It's all about power and control. You've got someone who wants to control the other individual. And as that happens, they lose, the victim loses more and more of themselves, more of the ability to say, no, this is not okay. How do we teach people to have healthy boundaries? How do we teach them that they have the ability to say no? Again, going back to the children, when we've got the young children in school that come to us and say, you can't be friends with so-and-so, or I'm not going to be your friend anymore, right? We've all felt that when we were growing up. That's learning healthy boundaries as a child. We have victims that are coming to us that are battered physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, spiritually.
Wow.
How many times have we had somebody say, you have to be together forever and ever, you're going to hell?
And it's just like
you got to be there with that
And
person.
they just stand
you got to
straight in that
stand
room
by
with
your man forever.
Wow. You know what, I'll tell you, I want to let Melissa answer this question. 16 years old,
Yes.
a young lady.
Yes.
What does it feel like to go to school knowing you've dealt with an issue with someone else or your own of domestic violence and focus on your education? Walk us through that.
It's terrifying. I've been a victim of bullying. I've come across sexual assault myself. And education, when you're in that mindset, plays no factor. All you can think about is what you've gone through. I'm actually right now on independent study because I was bullied. And it got to the point where my mental health kind of made me take a step back and say, hey, maybe it's not best for me to be going to school and tremble with fears in the eye of students that I know will hurt me if I let them.
They will hurt you.
No matter what. I've been threatened at one point by 4 guys twice my size, saying they were going to beat me up, possibly even sexually harm me because I didn't give them my homework. It's terrifying.
Just like that.
Exactly.
Over homework.
Yeah.
To control you.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, Moxie Man, we want to appreciate Heather and Melissa, Option House. We're going to have some information at the end of the show where people can get help and resources, because I think it's all about resources, all about support, all about getting a handle on this thing called domestic violence. And so we want to say thank you all
Thank you.
for coming in and representing and spending some time with How to Wax.
Thank you.
I would describe San Bernardino as a very challenged community economically. There's a lot of negativity that surround the youth.
When faced with
Gang violence, murders.
there is only one way out.
Ian feels that he may not be a perfect person. Everyone goes through their challenges in life. It's just depending on how you learn from those challenges. Obstacles come to make you learn and grow and be better.
The good Lord has given me the ability to teach as well.
We're on track to send guys to the next Olympics coming up.
Now these guys are at a level where I do have expectations.
But the kids know that that's what's required of them. And we were required because we love them.
I believe sometimes your environment can create strength. It's a story of overcoming obstacles. To have some kids come from an environment to still shoot for a goal and reach it. So I think we've only scratched the surface on what these kids are going to do.
Hopefuls.
Welcome to UC Riverside School of Medicine. I'm Dean Dees, and I'm here to tell you about our school. Our students begin to engage in clinical care from the very first month of medical school. They also participate in the LACE program, research experiences, as well as many community-based experiences.
Through LACE, they start in the first month of medical school in a real-life clinic with real patients, real providers.
With individual physicians practicing in the community, mostly in primary care settings, who will serve as mentors for our medical students.
Here in Riverside and the Inland Empire, we're going to be producing physicians that are going to be national leaders and not just leading in the medical field.
Our students have multiple opportunities to do service, and one of the most popular one is working with our free clinics. Our students are able to serve as the primary caregiver for the patients that they see there. Most of the patients wouldn't have gotten care otherwise, so our students are providing primary care to these patients.
UCR School of Medicine offers multiple research opportunities to students. Mandatory research through our practice improvement, community and population health research, clinical research, and biomedical science research. Students are actually getting a chance to move the dial in patient care and actually truly improve the community that they live in and work in.
When I look at what kind of research is going on, the kind of teaching is going on, the kind of infrastructure we have, I don't think UC Riverside is less than any of these schools. We have faculty coming from all over the United States, from really big institutes. They want to come here because they know the collaborative environment. Financial and administrative support is, I think, better even than other UCs. I have come from UCLA to UC Riverside. There's a reason for that.
In the third year, our students participate in a unique and innovative, clinically integrated longitudinal curriculum. This is a clerkship that's 6 months in duration as opposed to the usual 6 to 8 weeks, and allows students to experience the complexity, the chronicity, and the community-embedded nature of medical care delivery in the 21st century. The opportunity to participate in an integrated longitudinal curriculum will uniquely prepare our students for meeting the healthcare needs of their patients, especially those of inland Southern California.
You'll be glad you've chosen UC Riverside School of Medicine, and you won't be disappointed. I'm glad you're interested, and I look forward to meeting all of you.
Welcome back to Wigs and Weaves and the Natural You. Moxie Man.
Yes, sir.
I'm Hot Wax, and we are talking about domestic violence and how it impacts our communities, our families, our psyche, our whole being. And we've got individuals right now, right here at the Hot Wax Show that have been victims. And we're going to introduce you to them and hear their stories These are not characters. These are not actors. These are victims that have been impacted by the issue of control, coercion, and manipulation. Anita Scott,
Yes.
welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
You know why I'm glad you're here?
Why?
Because you're here with Hot Wax.
I love the name
I
and
love
the
that.
hair.
You love it. I'm loving it. I'm working it this year. You know, I had to get my hairdresser.
Yeah.
Gave me a little different something. She did a little something, so she did a little something to me. I think it was an experiment.
Yeah, well,
you
it
know.
looks real good
But
on
she
you.
worked me right.
Yes.
I ain't mad at it. So we're talking about domestic violence.
Yes.
You've been there.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Tell us how you doing now.
Well, I guess my situation is maybe a little bit different from others because I had been a victim of domestic violence for many years, probably most of my life. It took life experiences to know that, but my ultimate experience is what I experienced about a year ago.
And so when you talk about having dealt with domestic violence for most of your life, how much of that was quiet, silent?
All of it, up until probably the last 18 months. It's something you're ashamed of. You don't want to talk about it. You don't want to shame your family. You don't want to shame your community. Some of my siblings didn't even know what I had experienced. But at some point, you have to break the silence.
You mean your family, your
Yeah.
siblings?
Even some of my siblings, yes.
You had someone you were with that they probably saw, and they did not know what was going on with you.
Exactly.
So you were wearing a mask.
Yes. I was wearing a mask in many ways because I'm an educator.
Okay.
And, I have 3 master's degrees. So I was supposed to really know my stuff. Okay.
I got it.
And be able to identify, when things are happening. But I was too proud on one hand, too ashamed on the other hand, to let people know that I had experienced domestic violence in the way that I had. And then until, I like to call it my coup de grace moment, where sometimes things happen in your life where it's time to open up and time to let people know what's going on.
In other
And
words,
that's
some people
what I
call
had.
it my come to Jesus moment, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to stay as strong as I can.
Oh, we're here for you.
All right. I had an experience about a year ago that involved workplace domestic violence. And there was an issue going on within my school community where one of our teachers had lost her life to domestic violence on the school grounds. The impact of that was so overwhelming for us in the school community as a school employee because, as you know, we are not safe there. That's another conversation. And I happened to have been in a personal relationship at that time that very much mimicked what had happened at North Park Elementary School.
Now, did you and your girlfriend share some of the issues with regards to the things you were going through at the time, or were you both quiet?
You mean the person that reported when you say my girlfriend?
The individual that was murdered or killed?
No.
You guys never talked about it together?
Never talked about that. That was not, no one knew. Very, very few people, members of her family knew. So I've come to understand more about that story later, but the school didn't know. Her school community did not know. The advocates, we did not know that were out there advocating on behalf of that. No one knew that.
So, Anita, let me tell you what I'm thinking here. You're telling me you've got children coming to school from domestic violence household. You got educators coming to school that are being abused.
Yes.
So two populations are meeting each other,
Yes.
trying to get some learning done.
Yes.
How's that supposed to work?
That's where the problem is. We're not educating. You know, you read some stats early on, and correct me if I'm wrong, and you were saying 1 out of every 4 child has been, is, or has been at some point a victim of domestic violence.
Correct.
Well, that 1 in every 4 are now 1 in every 4 adults.
Wow.
They grow up. And they're your school teachers, you're your school administrators, they're your nurses, they're your doctors.
Wow.
They're all these professional people that wear all these titles behind their name that are also victims that are going home every day experiencing the same thing that your students are experiencing.
So that means education can't bear the strength of diminishing basically this domestic violence piece.
Absolutely.
Your principal may have experienced it or is experiencing it or dealing the domestic violence.
Yes.
And now, like you mentioned, you have these young kids that are in the same situations. Being that it's school,
Right.
how do you prepare these young adults to deal with these things and to...
And so it has to start from the top. I think first we need to get our school community, our teachers, our principals, our rec leaders, our coaches, all of those people need to first be trained to identify what domestic violence is, what it looks like, all the various different forms of domestic violence, because people's pride is on the line. People don't want their social images diminished. So we have to have some type of conversations or programs put in place that's mandatory, that everybody has to go through in order to identify, am I a victim of domestic violence?
Right.
Being a school counselor for over the last 18 years of my life, I counsel the teachers, all the staffers, the parents, and the students. So it's not just a job that we do with the K-12, I mean, we do it with your parents, we do it with the community leaders, you know, we do it with the administrators. Whoever walked through that door is gonna get the services. So I know firsthand how many educators are out there that are victims of domestic violence in one form or another.
18 years.
But are afraid to come forward. And if I can just go back to the incident at North Park for a minute. That incident was so overwhelming. First, we had already
What
had...
grade level of school was this?
This was K-8.
Okay.
Okay. It was so... the impact was just so overwhelming at so many levels because we're fearing for our safety from terrorists because we had already had the incident a few months prior before the North Park incident. Then we turn around and we're being told to, okay, we're going to protect you. We're SB Strong. We're all going to band together. If you're having issues, be sure to report so that we can protect. And then comes along my incident 5 months later, where I had a gun in my car because I'm being threatened by someone. I'm being followed by someone.
And you had to pack up.
And I had absolutely no choice but to try to defend myself because I reported. And as a result of my reporting it, I got handcuffed and taken to jail and fighting legal charges still to this day because I reported. Because I was so afraid for my life that I had to put a gun in my car to protect myself.
And you got arrested.
And I was arrested.
How many?
Who gonna report now, Terry? Who's going to report now? After seeing what happened to me, who's gonna be brave enough to wanna stand up and say, it's happening to me too?
The
And
silence.
it's happening to, absolutely.
So when you got a situation and you call, protecting yourself for fear that you may be the one put in handcuffs, you're not saying nothing.
That's right.
So you got shame.
That's right.
You got fear.
That's right.
and you track the integrity of your professional acumen, that you just leave it alone and just live in horror.
Yes. And fear. Because you also told my perpetrator that I didn't have the ability to protect myself.
Which strengthens them.
Exactly.
You know, I tell you, we want to talk about this issue.
Yeah.
Because sitting next to you is a man.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes men are seen as perpetrators. But when that man is walking and you don't know that he's a victim, I want to welcome Cedric Brookins to the show. And I can tell you, Cedric, you heard some things from Miss Anita, and I saw your reaction, your face, as she talked about some of the things that was happening. The silence. You reacted to that. Tell us a little bit about what that feels like as a man to have to be silent.
Well, if you talk about being hit by a woman and you don't strike back, you are a punk. You are a bitch. You're not a manly being a man. But if I strike back, I have a domestic violence on my record. And I'm going to be a graduate student. I'm trying to get like her,
like
being
Anita.
Anita.
Yeah.
Being this counselor for 18 years, I'm trying to get one in. And if I strike my significant other, I can't get no job.
Wow. It's economics.
That's economics. I can't get a job because if I strike her, I have an anger problem. Then I have to go to classes.
Yeah.
Then if I don't pass some classes, how can I get my credential?
Your money gone.
Money is gone. So I keep it to within myself because if I don't, who's going to care? Nobody. I see my dad here on my mom, but I told myself, why would I do that to my woman? I've been married for 16 years and been getting hit for almost 16 years.
Wait a minute now. I'm hearing some years in here. I'm hearing 18. I'm hearing 16.
Yes.
This ain't just yesterday.
No.
Y'all been dealing with this.
Yeah.
So if you all are just an example, a sample pool, this thing is huge.
Yeah.
So, Cedric, mentally, as a man, and you ain't no punk, you ain't no bitch. I'm just setting the record straight. And you can put the titles on, this being, adult rated show, but I can tell you, I think you're a man. And I want to know, mentally, what's that done to you?
It drives you to doing things that you don't like to do.
Mm-hmm.
You see other people that you want to lash out, but you have to be stronger than that because they know that I'm hurting inside. I have 3 girls that I have to raise, and then they see me strike their mama, they all know, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
For a man to strike me.
Because my daddy did it.
Right. So I took it upon myself to say, you know what? I'll go run with you. I'll do whatever it takes. I've been spit on in front of my 3 daughters.
Let me ask you, see, this is really kind of real. So as it comes to domestic violence, you really ride or die.
Right.
You got to be ride or die.
Right.
To get your daughters through it.
Right. And being a Christian man that I am, because that, like they say, die. I would die for my kids to deal with when I'm dealing with because I don't want to deal with the law.
So this is taking it for the team.
Yeah, taking it for the team.
16 years.
Yes. Because if I don't take it for the team, then my daughters will look at me and saying, you quit. You quit on me.
Daddy
you
quit.
left me.
Daddy quit. Yeah, absolutely.
So what you're describing is pretty common that happens. But there's an adverse effect to that because your daughters are seeing although they're seeing that you are not striking back at their mom, you're also sending a message to them about the strength of a man. So it's like a fine line, that you have to, stay on, so that they will understand that you're strong and you're resisting this, but do they really understand why? Because in their mind, you could be a weak father. They may want to see, it's kind of
they may want to see daddy puff up a little bit.
we might want to see daddy because, I'm just saying,
Okay.
especially from a black woman's perspective. We like a little thuggish. We want you to have just a little bit. Okay? Don't overdo it. But you need a little bit of that. Okay? Because I need to know that you can protect me if necessary.
By any means necessary.
Absolutely. Being that man in my life, I need to know that you can handle a situation. And if you can't handle mama, then you may be teaching them something else. So you may need to have that conversations with your daughters to make sure that they understand that you're coming from a black male perspective here. And I am a Christian loving father and husband. So you have to break that down to make sure that they see the strength, that they're garnering it from a different perspective. Because if you're not having that, then they like, well, daddy kind of weak,
Yeah. Well,
He just kind of let mama just push over and do anything to him.
That's
And
a
you
real
don't
perspective.
want, exactly, that's not the truth. And your wife may know that that's not the truth, but she's taking advantage of the situation, and they're going to do what she's doing.
Which is a part of the coercion.
There it is.
And I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to have Brother Cedric have the final word as we talk about this. Nita, I appreciate you pointing out, and I think that's a perspective, Brother Cedric. That's not a accusation.
Right.
That's a perspective.
That's right. That's right.
How would you say to men, talk to the men that are going through this and tell them how you feel about their situation?
You have to be strong. You have to know God first. Because if you don't have that strong, willing wisdom of Him to deal with.
And speaking to that mic so they can hear this.
To deal with what I'm dealing with, you have nothing. You have to stay strong with your family, with your siblings, so they know it's not easy going through domestic violence.
It ain't easy.
It ain't easy.
Well, I'll tell you what, we want to appreciate you all coming on here. Moxie Man, anything you want to say to our guests before we get out of here?
I just want to thank you guys for coming on and sharing. Both of you guys, stay strong. You've done an amazing job. Continue to have those conversations. That's what the young ladies need to hear, so that they don't grow up and do the same thing that mom did, etc. So just keep loving your children. Stay strong. Continue to strengthen our youth. We thank you guys for what you do, and that's about it.
Well, I want to say thank you all once again, and let's break that silence. All right, thank you all for coming in here today. All right, appreciate it. All right, thank you.